What's life like for families confronted with mental illness? Tonight, a moving documentary of two families' journey from pain to recovery. Look It in the Eye is next on Speak Your Mind. Welcome to Speak Your Mind. I'm Dr. Carolyn Phelps, licensed psychologist with the Human Development Center. And this week only, we will not be taking your calls. Instead, we have a very special presentation from filmmakers Dan and Debbie Woods and their documentary, Look It in the Eye. In this production, we follow the personal stories of two families dealing with mental illness. These are stories of resilience and recovery and ultimately hope for others who are suffering from mental illness, for family members, and ultimately for our community. And now we bring you Look It in the Eye.
Well, if tough had anything to do with it, my mom wouldn't have a mental illness. My mom was a tough gal.
I had my own stigma about mental illness.
And when one person in the family goes through it, everybody goes through it.
I wasn't like the popular person, or I didn't do sports. I was into band and yearbook.
I don't want to get all the way there.
I wasn't one of the most popular kids, but I wasn't one of the kids on the outside. I was one of those in the middle that could just kind of go and do their thing.
Yeah, someday I'll have 4 doors. Yeah, that'll be luxury.
You're ahead of the game.
Most of my friends were from church. People that I knew from church. What I remember is that somebody was acting goofy. There'd be the comment, "Oh, he's mental."
Oh my gosh, you're like mental.
Where I grew up, we didn't talk, the guys certainly, we didn't even discuss our emotions, much less anything like mental illness.
That's the sound of a champion right there.
I got home one weekend and my sister Emily came to the door and she said, I saw Carolyn, and she said her sister Lisa says that Dave Hemela thinks you're cute.
I wish I could tell you it was, I was really attracted to her deep intellect or something, but man, she was good looking.
No, we really just enjoyed each other's company for quite a while, and I always had the feeling like we could talk about anything.
How do you like French fries? With ketchup or without ketchup?
With. Oh, she needs a
Oh.
And that we would always have things to talk about.
I think it was pretty clear to me that, as clear as it can be to you at a young age, that this is the person you wanted to spend the rest of your life with.
Well, we were just parked in a car and he asked if I would love him forever and asked if I would marry him someday. And it truly did feel like everything stopped. And I just knew that it was right.
Well, I came from a family of 7 kids. My mom. Well, my mom was a beautiful woman.
It's good to see you. How are you? Good.
Always kept us clean and kept us neat and kept us well-mannered. And my dad owned a store on Highway 2, a motel gas station type of a store. And so I guess growing up, we were like one right after the other. And so we were kind of a rough, tough little family. Well, we were pretty much like little soldiers. So we got up, we all had our jobs, knew what we had to do. Life was pretty much taking care of the motel, taking care of customers.
Nice day, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very nice day. A little bit cool. And at the age of 6, I was pumping gas and
Where are you coming in from?
cleaning motel rooms and pretty busy, you know, with just being a kid.
When Tanya and I were first married, we were young. We got married young. And it was kind of a blur.
We got more than 6 loads, I'll tell you that.
I was still in college.
All the bowls?
We had a little apartment.
All the bowls in there.
And it feels a little bit like playing house.
I don't even know if we have room for this.
What are these?
Those are soup bowls.
Oh, he had some of his old school books and science fiction and, you know, some nonfiction. And I thought, I don't think we're ever going to run out of things to talk about. And we haven't.
Life was fairly routine at first.
So what's the schedule today?
Structure should be over about 3:30, and then work at floor I should be done with that about 8, home by 8:15.
All right, well, I will be home around 5:30 and enchiladas tonight for dinner.
I worked as a secretary and an accounting clerk.
I think we're gonna need to run all those invoices again.
And at that point, we were expecting our first.
Really?
Yeah.
Now it's, oh, okay, this isn't playing house. Now we're starting a family. And Megan was born, and she was in great shape.
I thought as a mother that I would be like Caroline Ingalls. I really wanted to be that kind of mother, very serene and calm, not impatient.
Then it was, life was about, you know, learning how to be a parent and learning how to take care of a little baby. And
Which side's the front?
The front is the one with the characters on it.
I was about 10 years old, probably when it first started. We had just a mom with lots of moods, but she'd go through different periods. I mean,
Come on, Patrick, we're gonna play kick the can. Right now! Kick the can, everybody! On it! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
things seemed pretty normal, I guess, in our household
Just the one night?
Yep, one night.
Okay.
until we had a serious car accident.
Straighten her out. That's good.
Ginger, my water, please.
Mom had a lot of pain issues, which then turned into a lot of depression, and we started having trouble at that point. It seemed like something triggered mental illness in my mom.
Where are you going?
And then from depression, she'd get really upset and she would take off
Dad, it's Uncle Raymond on the phone.
to various places, to uncles or aunts or brothers or whatever.
Hey, Ray.
But she would disappear for,
She is.
you know, a couple weeks at a time.
She's in Florida. Want to take some? Pass it around.
As a family growing up, I mean, you didn't talk about it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, pretty good.
Said sounds good to me.
And we didn't understand what was going on. And it was shaming.
You set her off. Dude, you're the one who sets her off half the time.
Oh, really? Me?
Yeah,
I didn't
you.
say anything to set her off today. Blame that? No. Nobody sets her off. She's crazy. Do you get it? She's crazy.
And back then, you know, she was crazy is how we thought it. We didn't know what it was. I wish so much that us children would have had someone to tell us what was going on.
Why does this always have to happen, guys? Why can't we just have one dinner where we don't all start fighting?
Oh no, maybe because Patrick starts it all.
I started it all? I'm the one who goes
I
and
mean-
runs off crying.
When you're in it, everybody gets dysfunctional. Nobody knows how to make it right or make it work. I will say that I believe I got sick. I believe the whole family was sick. We were sick of it. You know, as a little girl, I just said, I will never do this to my family. I will never, if I end up like Mom, I'm going to get help. I'm not going to put anybody through what I was going through.
The first part of our married life, really, everything was just very quick, you know. Get married, move, have the first baby, and then have the second. After our second child was born, day-to-day life became much harder. I lost all my baby weight within 7 days after he was born, 27 pounds in 7 days.
And he was a difficult baby. He was very colicky, he didn't like to sleep.
It was 2 weeks after he'd been born, and I was crying. I couldn't control it. Just crying uncontrollably.
Hey, Tony.
I knew something was wrong.
Okay. Hey, what's going on?
I don't know.
But I didn't know what it was.
What happened? Did something happen?
No, the kids are crying.
Something happened today?
No. I just can't stop crying.
So as things begin to get difficult,
Can I get you something?
You don't have any way to explain it. You just think life is hard.
Sure nothing happened?
I really had no understanding what was going on with me. You think that something is wrong with you, that you're not coping well enough.
Something, right?
What else would you think, you know? And then I had a lot of pain because some of the stitches had ripped out. And I went back to see the doctor. It was 2 weeks after he'd been born.
So you had a baby
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. Oh, how is
And I
it?
said, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't seem to stop crying. And the nurse said, it's okay, it's just the blues, it'll pass, it'll be okay. I was deeply glad that I had these 2 beautiful children, but I couldn't have those sensations of enjoying it. There was that disconnect between the two. I had no feelings at all, it felt like. I remember sitting on the couch, just wishing that I could be by myself, that I could go away to Canada, and that would be better for them and for Dave. Taking care of the house, taking care of my kids. My husband did. Dave understood something was happening, but he didn't understand it. He was in the same boat as me in that way. He was supportive. I knew that he loved me, and I knew that I loved him. But I would call him at work, and I would say, please, can you come home early? You know, I'd been successful at anything I had tried to do.
Hey, Tony.
Hi.
Yeah, good to see you. Say, we've been really pleased with your work.
When I had a job, I would get
A
promoted.
little bit more responsibility.
If I had something in school, I would do well at it and move on to something else. Things with Dave at that time, we had a disconnect too.
Hey, Dave? Do you think you could finish feeding Megan?
I remember Tani didn't work because it didn't make sense for her to work and put 2 kids in daycare at the time. So I was working 3 jobs.
Give time alone.
I had my regular job.
Sure.
And then I worked a job at night. And then on Saturdays, I did another job. So the only thing I could think of was, oh gosh, it must be me. I'm a crummy husband. I'm a crummy father. So you're trying to do more. You're trying to be better.
Right off, you start to cover up what's going on with yourself, with other people.
So I tried to call Cindy to see if she wanted to come over tonight, and she kind of hinted at the fact that she's gonna talk to somebody. Talk to somebody? Yeah, you know, get some help. She feels like she's been feeling sad and stuff for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Whose turn is it?
I think
Is
I
it-
threw
did
down
I
the 4. You're
discard?
up.
Oh, I have to discard.
When somebody came in, we knew how to act.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How may we help you?
We knew how to smile. We knew how to, we were very social.
Okay. Could I have you fill this out?
I kind of thought this is how people live, I guess. I didn't understand that this isn't what other people go through. I kind of figured that this is how other people live, and when you see them and they act nice, it's because they know how to do that, just like we were able to do. But it was pretty sick. It was another day. I think everybody has a different memory of it, but my memory, I don't think it was a terrible day. I don't think she was at her most depressed, but it was still not good around the house. And she was frustrated, and she was not doing good. She was irritable, and my dad was there, and he was at wit's end. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know, what do I do? He just was beside himself. She got frustrated and just left us, and we sat around and we talked for a while. I don't know, and then eventually we started looking around the house, and we didn't see my mom anywhere. We didn't know where she went. So we just figured she took off again. We figured we'd get a phone call from a relative and they'd say she's there. And I was doing my job. I mean, we had a motel to run. We had things to do in my job, and I was in a utility room. And my dad was there, and I said to him, Dad, did you look for the gun?
And nobody knew what to call. Nobody knew it was anything. Cecilia was my wife, and I loved her.
My mom wasn't supported. I would say from my dad. I believe us as children, we weren't supportive. We didn't know what it was. And now I know what it is, and it doesn't scare me, but it is something that I understand I have to deal with. And so in my life, I always have felt like it could be me.
Hey, Tani. How's it going? How are you?
Fine.
Good.
Doing fine.
An old friend of mine one day, when she saw me, she asked about our son, and then she asked how I was doing.
How are things going?
And I said, oh, fine. I'm doing
They're
fine.
fine, and it's tough.
And she said, are you sure? Because
Do you know what I mean?
I don't want to pry, but you seem a little down to me.
It's really hard,
And it's hard to think about now, but it's wonderful.
Oh, hey, Tani. There you are. How's it going?
She suggested a book to me. She lent me a book, and I started to read it and recognize myself in those pages. And so that opened me up to the idea that perhaps this is depression.
Hey,
Pretty into what you read now. What is it?
it's a book that Stacy brought over yesterday. It's about depression. It's strange, Dave. It's like looking at myself in a book.
And he had his own resistance about learning about it and thinking about it. It was hard for him to see what was happening too.
Significant weight loss, excessive sleeping, not wanting to get out of bed. It's like this isn't just a made-up thing.
And so it was hard for him to learn about it too. But he did. I showed him more than once. I went back another time a few weeks later and said, this part here, this too is how it's been for me. And he started to get it. It took some time, but he started to get it. then several weeks later,
Can you call in? Can you call in?
I had trouble. I didn't feel I could get out of bed.
I think it's time to call a doctor, okay?
That's the whole definition, and the whole bad cycle with depression is it tells you you're undeserving, it tells you you're worthless, it tells you you should be ashamed, it tells you that you shouldn't get help because getting help is bad, because you should just be coping better. And coping means doing it on your own.
Now I'm a mom with 3 kids, and tried to be really open with the kids about that mental illness may be something that becomes a part of our family. Whose turn? All right. And I would say of all the kids, if I had to say which one would have a mental illness, it wouldn't be Olivia. She was a strong little girl with a lot of personality.
It's hard to go for the first time. It felt like admitting defeat. All this time of telling myself that I could cope on my own, and now I was going to a doctor and a psychologist, and that was a whole area that, that's for those other people. It was a scary area, and I had my own stigma about mental illness, about dealing with mental health issues. And the biggest stigma I had about it was concerning myself. But when I went, it was incredibly helpful.
Well, one thing I want you to know.
She recognized some things right away that I hadn't considered, and she had such knowledge about postpartum depression and dealing with it, and she had seen many people with it. And so it's like, oh, I'm not this evil person. I'm not a terrible person. I'm dealing with something that needs to be dealt with.
So let's talk about what we can do for treatment.
Okay.
However, I only went to see that psychologist once.
We didn't do any treatment. We didn't do any medication. I think she saw the person once.
And once we started to both understand what was going on, it was easier to get better.
So even though you're faced with the reality of a mental illness, and you're told what it is, you just want it to go away. Even if you accept it, you just want it to disappear.
I mean, I should have gone back in 2 weeks. I should have gone back. Because it was a tough road. And winter came, and I got hit with depression again, and didn't do anything to treat it. Just tried to slog through it, and for myself, it's been frequent periods of depression and occasionally hypomania, which is a milder form of mania, and that's called bipolar II disorder. If I had gotten better treatment for my depression earlier, I don't know that it would have escalated into bipolar disorder.
Mental illness is a part of my life. It's likely to be a part of my children's life. And instead of having the life that my mom had, I have determined to change that and not be so afraid of it and see what needs to be done about it and then do it.
And so to look it in the eye and say, I don't like this, I don't like this diagnosis, I don't like what's going on, but it's going on, so I need to deal with it. That's where all the pins on the lock of the door fall open, where you move from being caged, you move from that to being free and being able to move forward in whatever way you're meant to.
Some families have problems with heart disease, or some people have trouble with diabetes in their families. It's something to be aware of. It's something to, if it does show up, to be proactive about, to embrace instead of fight.
If one of us were to get cancer, would it be any different?
Well, I take my medicines, I see a therapist, I get outside, I exercise pretty regularly, and one of the biggest things is I get plenty of sleep.
Once you realize that it's an illness and it can be treated, and you can deal with it, then you can become tangible in your mind and you can move on.
Sometimes something will come up where somebody will mention that they're struggling with something. So I might myself say, yeah, I've dealt with depression and it's hard.
Things are better now.
I am working again for the first time in about 2 years. I took my first college course for the first time in 17 years. I can think clearly. I feel like I'm smart again, at least as smart as I used to be, kind of.
I think my mom taught me a lot, and the experience taught me a lot. I'm going to look at it head on. I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm going to just, deal with it. And for me, my experience is so much better than my mom's.
If you have a mental illness, it's not the end of the world. You can still have a life. I have 2 beautiful kids and 1 on the way, and a good life with my husband. I have a lot of that good life because of my mom and the influence she's had in my life and how to take care of mental illness.
All I know is I'm looking forward to the future, and I look forward to more fully becoming who I am and who I'm meant to be, and finding out who my kids are as they grow up.
I do have a role, and that is to be supportive, and that is to get educated, and that's to maybe be a helper in seeing the signs if things start coming back. But my job is not to manage it. My job is not to fix it. If I can keep my focus in the right place, then I can have a great time with my wife.
I really look forward to moving ahead with Dave, to really growing old with him, whatever time we're given.
Thanks for joining us this evening. We're off next week on a holiday break, and everyone here from WDSE and Speak Your Mind wishes you a very happy and peaceful holiday. Join us again in the new year for a show on bipolar disorder on Thursday, January 5th. I'm Dr. Carolyn Phelps. Thanks for watching, and good night.